Azania, the name given by Herodotus to the lands we know as East Africa. Rolling waves blend foam of legend with sand of reality. The Chinese Tseng Po, the land of Zanj, the land of Ophir, the land of Punt, the mountains of the moon. Lateen sails, powered by the irrepressible and methodical monsoons, beat an unceasing cadence across the Sea of La. Historians such as Masudi and Idris tell of trade routes between Arabia, Malabar, and East Africa. Dhows bring weapons and tools from Arabia, cloth and dyes from India in exchange for spices and ivory from East Africa. Trading settlements are built, and cities like Malindi, Mtwapa, Khalifi, Mombasa, and Vumbaku sprawl as mangrove and coral in a lowering tide. The new immigrants find the land bountiful, yet severe. They worship God and bury their dead, and the cycle of life goes on, bridging the centuries with trade, war, and peace. Young feet build calluses on jungle trails, and old structures succumb to growing plants. Vasco da Gama, 7th April, 1498. Fort Jesus dominates a new way of life. Mombasa, Muscat, Bombay, all cede trade rights to Portuguese cannon. After 200 years of conflict, the Portuguese are finally expelled in 1698 by the armada of Saif ibn Sultan, Prince of Oman. But the sea continues to bring new immigrants to this abundant land. English interest in East Africa increases. The East Indies, long familiar with this area, gives up many of her farmers, craftsmen, and merchants to these western shores. Strange tribes of Europe and Asia move from tropical baobab through temperate forest. Ivory brings a high price in the markets of Zanzibar and Bombay. Arab explorers venture inland as far as the Congo. European explorers press on from coastal anthills to upcountry lakes. There are many lakes, lakes in the desert, windswept, hot, green, and salty. Imaginary lakes where zebra wade in shimmering air. The soil of Africa attracts explorers like Kraft and Rebman, David Livingstone, Sir Richard Burton, Sir Samuel Baker, Joseph Thompson, and John Speke, all in search of a dream. And the turn of the century drives the East African Railroad from Mombasa through 500 miles of wilderness to Lake Victoria. 1920. World War I is over, and Kenya colony rolls into the 20th century. been nearly 70 years since craft first glimpsed the snow-capped peaks of Mount Kenya. Many unsuccessful ascents were made until the 13th of September, 1899, when Mackinder first climbed Batian. Climbing the peaks became increasingly popular until 1952, when clouds of political unrest enveloped the mountain and forest areas. Colonialism is on the way out. At midnight, the 12th of December, 1963, internal self-government is celebrated. And the new flag is placed atop the glaciers of Mount Kenya by the mountaineer Kisoi Minyao.
Harambe! Harambe!
Mzee Kenyatta's slogan of national cooperation ripples over the countryside, cascades into the valleys, is suspended in the very air through which it flows, increasing in magnitude as it echoes off the mountain ridges, reverberates on the wide plateaus, and even penetrates the resilient bamboo bomas of the buffalo, and whispers to the nomadic dwellers of the plains. In some areas of Kenya, however, the laws of man are superseded by the ancient laws of nature. But through the fragrantly flowering Jacaranda, the drums of freedom sing to all tribes, to the Samburu, the Somali, the Turkana, to the Abaluya, the El Molo, the Wakamba, to the Embu, the Taita, and the Tugan, to the Maasai, the Luo, the Kisi, the Meru, to the Kikuyu, the Kipsigis, and the Suk, and to the tribes of Europe, Asia, and Arabia who have chosen to make Kenya their home. Nairobi. End of track in 1900, now the communications center of the nation. 300 miles from the sea and a mile above it. Capital of 225,000 square miles of desert, farmland, forest, savanna, and jungle. Seat of the popular government. Center for the administration of objects, forces, and people that constitute this diverse nation. There are nearly 1 million people living in Kenya. Over a quarter of that number live in this modern city. The external symptoms of progress are immediately obvious, but there are others. Free public education, now a reality for all children, regardless of their parents' economic status. In one generation, or perhaps in the lifetime of one man, the changes have been incomprehensible. One man, one vote, the index finger of the right hand extended upward, the symbol of the newly elected governing party. The traditions of the past are many, some useful, some no longer valid. Spears once used in tribal warfare are now replaced by symbolically crossed spears on a flag respected by all tribes. And that flag from a staff of volcanic rock and ice, 17,000 feet above the Indian Ocean, looks to the past and to the future of the Republic of Kenya.